Welcome to another SSJ review. This time we're looking at the Transformers Prime Beast Hunters Voyager class Ultra Magnus. Now this is a completely different figure than the previous Ultra Magnus we got in the RID line. This is an extensive retool of the Robots in Disguise Optimus Prime just to more closely resemble his appearance in the Transformers Prime Beast Hunters cartoon show, which when we first saw prototypes of it, I initially thought it was just a crappy bootleg, but then learning about his appearance in the Transformers Prime comic book, where it did indeed look just like this prototype we saw, I fell in love with the design and could not wait to get my hands on him. Now here he is in vehicle mode, and the problem with this figure is the exact same problem I had with the RID version of Optimus Prime. The truck mode looks silly. It just looks like a cutified, just super deformed truck. It doesn't have the imposing look of the first edition version of Optimus Prime, just a big massive semi-truck. This just looks like a cute little toy truck, which is a shame. I would definitely like to see this figure done with the first edition Optimus Prime, but that would just been too expensive, I guess. But as a whole, it's not too bad. You might notice that on the sides of the truck, it has the arms micron port from the Japanese arms micron RID Optimus Prime, which is an interesting choice, but there's no other signs from the arms micron toy just on these ports here, which is quite interesting. And you'll also notice that the smokestacks are now missing from the RID mold, but instead just left two empty holes on each side. And to make room for these massive shoulder pads, you do have the shoulder pads themselves sticking out from the back of the truck, which is not too bad. It's just kind of funny. And now for this little jetpack here these have stored in the back, you can have it like this, which I don't think looks bad. It gives it a more unique look, kind of separates itself from the Optimus Prime. You store the missiles here on the side, and you store the Forge of Soulless Prime here on the back. Or if you want, you can just take it off and just have the simple truck, which is perfectly fine by itself. And you get a side-by-side comparison with the RID Optimus Prime. You can see that the windshield is remolded. You can see the shoulder pads sticking out from the back and the missing smokestacks. And those are only, of course, the arms micron ports are not present on this Optimus Prime. So you can see that those are basically the only differences, except for the paint, of course. Optimus is red and Ultra Magnus is blue. So set him off to the side. And we'll bring in the RID Ultra Magnus, and you can see that completely different. A lot of people have been saying that they like this color blue or this color blue better than this one. I can see that, but I still like this color blue. It's nice. It's friendly looking. I mean, I don't have any major complaints about it. Although I would prefer this color, but I don't care either way. And you can see that this one is a little bit taller, while the RID one is just a tad bit longer, probably about half a centimeter. You can see right there. So as far as the truck mode goes, it gets the job done. I still would have really liked to see them use the first edition mold, but still, it's an accurate representation of his truck mode from the car. The transformation to robot mode is very similar to that of the RID one, just a few little differences here and there. If you haven't taken this off, go ahead and do that. And then first off, I'm going to be taking the sides off the truck like that, and kind of bring them up to the front. Detach the front grille, kind of let things go a little bit easier, except on this side. There we go. go ahead and lift this section up and bring these little panels down, fold out the feet, okay, we got something pretty messed up looking right here. Separate the roof. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because with the addition of the shoulder pads, it's kind of confusing because stuff can really collide with stuff here. Fan the arms out, bring this down, fold out the hand, rotate the hand down, and take this shoulder pad and rotate it this way. Do the same thing on this side, rotate it down, and rotate the shoulder pad that way. Almost there. Fold up the head, bring up the chest piece. Oh, before you do that, gotta get underneath of here and fold this little piece out, complete his chest, and lock it in there like that. And there you have Ultra Magnus. Ironhide is voiced by actor Michael Ironside in the show, and you may recognize him from as mainly either asshole or villain character from movies. And he's one of my favorite actors, and when I look at his figure, I can just hear his voice coming from the voice box of this character, because this figure just is a very, very accurate representation of his character from the show, and this is where the toy really shines for me. The head is damn near perfect, just missing a couple little paint apps. I do love the blue eyes painted on. The chest is missing a little bit of paint. That's missing the red that's underneath of the windows on his chest, and a little bit of blue is missing from his torso, but I'm considering painting that up, especially the red, and there's some silver on his head that's missing. But other than that, this is a fantastic looking figure. The mixes of different shades of blue really shine in this figure, and it just has a very Commander-like presence. I guess that's just why I really like Ultra Magnus as a whole, as one of my favorite Transformers characters in any media, because he just has that Commander look to him, and this one definitely pulls it off very well. So as far as articulation goes, he does have a head that I believe is supposed to be on a ball joint, but because you get a tad bit of movement up and down, but not much. He does swivel left and right. His shoulders on a ball joint, and I'm happy that these are actually part of that joint, because initially I thought these were going to be separate, and you would have to, like, these would stay in place and his arms would move around. But I'm happy that it's done like this. He has a bicep swivel and a 90-degree bend at the elbow. No waist or hip or upper torso articulation. His hips are on a ball joint. He has a mid-thigh cut, and his knees have a 90-degree bend in them, and his foot is on a ball joint, which allows for, and on a hinge ball joint combo, which allows for some very extensive articulation in that department. So he's actually, I mean, for how bulky he is, he's actually very surprisingly now posable. As far as accessory goes, this is where a figure also really starts to shine. And while a lot of people kind of bitched about it, I kind of like everything he comes with. He comes with the jetpack, which is very similar to the one from Beast Hunters Optimus Prime, and take everything off. And I don't have that figure out right now. I kind of wish I would have got that out, but for a comparison. But the jetpack is actually surprisingly way more detailed than the one on him, because this is a little bit more three-dimensional. The one on Prime's is a little bit more flat. It looks really cool. The only it is a completely different jetpack, because looks completely different. And on the Prime, these could move a little bit. These are in their fixed position, but except for this hinge here. But other than that, it's really cool. It also comes with these 2 missiles, and really cool, comes with the Forge of Solus Prime, although a much smaller one and mostly unpainted, which is kind of disappointing. What you can do with the backpack, fan out these blades a little bit, and on this blue part of the jetpack, fold that out, snap that in, and these little grooves are going to kind of slide in place of the backpack, and it gets a jetpack, but we're not sure if he's actually going to be using one in Prime or not. Just still kind of confused why the toy has them. You can put the missile up on the shoulders here, which you can't see, and the shoulder pads themselves can move down, and it's just a friction. There's no spring. Push it down, it shoots out. And where did it go? Right here. So you can do that, and you can have him hold the forge. Kind of just seems that ever since animated, all Ultra Magnus has to have a hammer. But what I like to do is kind of have him hold it with both hands like that, and just kind of like on the cover of the one comic book with Magnus, something like that, which you still can't see. So he definitely looks like he's able to take care of any Decepticon. But what I like to do for the backpack is, there's also, since it's part of the backpack of the trailer, you can store the hammer on like that, so you can, he doesn't quite have to hold it in that, and in the show he holds the hammer, or stores the hammer on his back. But what I like to do with the backpack is you don't have to have it splayed like this. You can bring it up, these wings back, and doing that, you can lift these shoulder pads up and then bring this these parts down, and you can still store the hammer on his back, and it doesn't affect the look at all, which I like. And plus you'll be able to store the hammer. But he does have a little bit of backpack, but it's not awful. It gives the figure a good amount of weight, which I think is appropriate. Or besides storing the missiles up here, you can go for more of a G1 look and peg them in on the sides right here. Creates a really cool G1 homage there. So you definitely have a lot of options with this guy. Yeah, just a quick comparison between these 3 figures. You can see how extensive of a remold Ultra Magnus is from Optimus Prime. The chest is completely different, the shoulder is completely different, and the head's different. So you can see that while it does have some very similar parts like the torso and the legs and pretty much everything else, they don't have the clear plastic forearms, which I really like. I mean, I hate these. I like what they did here, but it just looks just massive compared to him. And compared to the first Ultra Magnus from RAD, you can see that he's a little, I mean, from this angle he looks significantly smaller, but he is a little bit smaller, maybe just because I have his legs spread apart a little bit more, but he's actually just a tad bit smaller. The head is probably why it is, because the head on this one's a lot bigger, but it's a shame you can't transplant them because the joints are completely different. Than this would just get all messed up in the robot mode. But I do really like this form a lot better than this one. This is just overall just a very disappointing upscale Cyberverse figure, which upscaling Cyberverse figures, we talked about those on Primecast, and you know how we feel about that. So overall, I definitely recommend this one over that one. Overall, I absolutely love this figure. I think it's well worth the $20 that's being asked for in retail stores, and I would go so far to say is one of my top 3 favorite Transformers Prime figures. Partly because I love his character in the show. I love that he's more of the traditional hardcore militarist with the authoritative voice of Michael Ironside, which is also one of my favorite actors, and just a really cool look to him. But in kind of a more traditional Ultra Magnus, that he is partly a Optimus Prime repaint and just partly new mold. It's just like how the G1 Ultra Magnus was. I keep on wanting to say Ironhide. Because this is a really interesting figure and really cool looking. I just wish the Forge of Solus Prime was a little bit bigger and painted. That's the only real major problem I have with this figure. Any other changes would have been purely cosmetic. I would have preferred they used the first edition Optimus Prime mold, but that would have been unlikely because it would just be too expensive. But still cool nonetheless. But I still, even though this is based off of an inferior figure as a repaint, definitely pick this figure up. It's well worth it. Super fun, really cool looking figure. I really enjoy it. Until next time, thank you for watching.